Okay, this is part 17. Um, I think at this point I've proven there's a hidden language here. There's a puzzle language. So I'm kind of not going to focus in on explaining every little puzzle thing like I did earlier. I'm just going to run right through it. And hopefully you guys have picked up enough now where you'll be able to see the parts of it that you already know and the new parts. And one of the things I wanted to bring up right off the bat is the recurring theme of wings. Barry Nelson says, oh, he chopped his family up and he stacked them neatly in the West Wing. And this is a reference to Kubrick chopping his movie up into little pieces like chess moves. So, I included at the end of the last video a video called The Winged Beetle. You're going to need to watch that video and understand it to understand the Paul McCartney winged beetle thing. Anyway, Paul McCartney died in a car accident, and he was replaced by a gentleman who looked very much like him, but there were differences, very much like the Burns twins and the Titanic twins and the World Trade Center twins. They're almost identical, but they're not identical. So Paul dies. He's replaced by Fall, and Paul was in a band called Willie and the Pepper Pots. So it became Sergeant Pepper's. He also was in the military, so that you combine the military service and the Pepper Potts band and Willie, and you got Sergeant Pepper. So on the album cover, there's a drum skin, which I'll show you in a few minutes here. And it has a hidden message clue in it. And the message clue is 11IX he die, which translated as 11 is 11, IX is 9, and he die is Paul died on 11/9. We're also given the gold beetle in The Shining. Jack drives the gold beetle, the yellow beetle. It was red in the book, so it's changed for a reason. We have the purity of essence, peace on earth in Dr. Strangelove. So Poe dies on 1/19. So we see Poe and we see Paul, and it's an interesting date match there. And we have the gold beetle. Of course, Paul was a beetle and Fall was the replacement beetle. So two Pauls become one. Just like the Twin Towers are replaced by the Freedom Tower. Just like the Titanic and the Olympic is damaged, it's rebadged as the Titanic, it's sunk, and now there's only one ship. So two ships have become one. It's always two into one. Remember, your puzzle is 1, 1, 1. 1 and 2. That's as simple as you can get. 1 or 11. So let's go beyond Paul McCartney. We have the Wilbur crater and the Orville crater on Apollo 15. This is the hand-drawn map I showed you earlier. These are the gentlemen that are first in flight. We have the Kitty Hawk Apollo CSM capsule, and we have numerous Hawks already. We have Hawk is the ship that didn't aid the Titanic, the illegal seal fishing ship. Hawk Films was the production company for the movie The Shining. Eagle Films is the production company for the making of The Shining. This is the first in flight category. The B-52 flies the first time April 15th. Also, we have Kitty Hawk. Kitty Hawk is Catbird. So in Barry Lyndon, he goes out and he purchases a horse for his son's birthday. But he never rides the horse, and he never really checks the temperament of the horse. He just buys the horse and goes home. And anyway, the horse ends up rearing up and landing on his son and breaks his son's neck. So his son becomes paralyzed from the neck down, and he dies very shortly after that. So the story here, what he's telling you is he was in the catbird seat, but he never really looked at the Gitz horse in the mouth. He didn't look at the horse to see what he was getting into. He volunteered to slay the Minotaur, just like Theseus volunteers to slay the Minotaur. So Kubrick, he didn't even look the horse in the mouth. He knew he was in the catbird seat, and he volunteered to slay the Minotaur. This is his little story here. So how do we know this? How can we slam this right down? Well, let's go down some of these other wings here. We have Wing Attack Plan R. This is the plan that they're executing on the B-52 bomber. And Slim Pickens says, we're going to go toe-to-toe with the Ruskies. Well, toe-to-toe is a reference to boxing, so we have another boxing clue here. We have Dempsey, Cartier. Then we have the trying to recall the wing. And then we have Icarus and his wings, okay? The Icarus and Daedalus myth which is son and father. Daedalus was the man that designed the labyrinth that imprisons the Minotaur. And Kubrick does his Icarus speech, which I think you guys, hopefully you've watched by now. And he talks about he never understood whether the message from the myth was to not fly too high or if it was to build better wings. And of course, we know it was to build better wings. And so we have the Kubrick's Icarus speech, which is really a total connection to Icarus, Daedalus, the Minotaur, the labyrinth, the magic's thread. And then we have the Icarus and Daedalus craters, which they land right near on Apollo 15. There's the Icarus crater I showed you the other day. And once again, they're father and son. And Daedalus is the man that designs the labyrinth that imprisons the Minotaur. So this is a really, I don't know how much more slam dunk you could get on the Minotaur magic thread theme. And it ties right into the wings, and it ties right into First in Flight. And then we have Jocks and Stanley, we're father and son. So I think this puzzle doesn't really actually start with Stanley. I think this puzzle starts with his father. So, Kubrick is taking these incredibly alchemical pictures from the moment he has a camera in his hand. It's not an accident. We had, Jocks did the legwork. He has a son. He decides he wants to sacrifice his son to the Minotaur, and he trains him on, everything. So he gets a jump start here. He's like the rabbit, he's shot out of a cannon. And so that's his allegory here. And of course, Icarus, Icarus flies too high, and he flies too close to Apollo's laurel corona. He flies too close to the sun, Apollo, So it really fits very good because Kubrick faked the Apollo missions. And then he gives his Icarus speech and he says, build better wings. So build better wings is a message to all the other directors and alchemists and artists and anyone out there who shines to build some better wings. And that's the key to this whole thing here, is this little wings thing, which I hadn't gotten into before. Let's go to what's full of stars. We have the Corona Borealis has 7 stars in it. This is the Minotaur myth. You know this. Capricorn 1 is a zodiac. It's stars. The Apollo 13 CSM was the Aquarius and the Odyssey. Which we're always taking Greek Odysseys here. So you got Aquarius, the god of the dawn, the awakening. We have the Aurora capsule, the same thing, goddess of the dawn. So we're being clued into the awakening, and it's also a zodiac and stars. Antares, Apollo capsule name, it's a star. Polaris Productions, it's the North Star. We also have clues into the 2 bears, Ursa Minor and Ursa Major. I'm going to get into that in a minute here. So Polaris Productions, we have was Kubrick's production company for 2001: A Space Odyssey. And it's also a missile category. We have the Titan missile, we have Battle of the Titans, we have the Hammer on Apollo 15, the Thor's Hammer, the Minuteman missile. This is a revolutionary. The Polaris Productions. We have the Saturn V rocket, which is a god of time who ate all his children, just like the Donners did. The Sidewinder missile, the Sparrow, a bird missile. We have the Hawk missile, I forgot to put in here. Then we have the Blue Danube ICBM. So we have all these different arrows, we'll call them. Like Apollo had silver arrows. They always call them broken arrows. So here's all the arrows in this puzzle. And then you have the Great Bear and the Little Bear. We have the Little Bear poster and the Big Bear poster. These are clues to Ursa Major and Minor. So we also have the 2 bears pick in Danny's room, Smokey the Bear and Smokey Jr., the 2 bears. And Jr. is a category. We have JFK Jr., Bird Jr., Bush Jr. Oh, God, I'm going to have to make a list of them. There's a dozen of them. Then we have Ares, the Ares 1B shuttlecraft. So we have the Ares Zodiac, the Ram, Ares, Mars, god of war. Also, we have George Ares Failure, which is another flat Earth proof. It's spelled differently, but I mean, it's an alchemical language. So there's wings, stars. Let's start at the top of this thing. Okay, One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. The cuckoo bird lands in a host bird's nest, and the first thing it does when it hatches is it pushes all the other birds' eggs out of the nest and kills them. So it's like nature's little version of eugenics. So Why are we being shown the cuckoo bird? Because of its behavior. So, is this the one flew over the cuckoo's nest? Is this the only cuckoo clue we have? No, there's lots of cuckoo clues, and the really big one is the cuckolding that's going on in his movies. Marie Windsor is cuckolding her husband. Barry Lyndon is Mrs. Lyndon's cuckold, and then her husband dies. And when he goes on the road as a soldier, he's cuckolding all the soldiers' wives, and as he travels, he's always sleeping with another man's wife. So the cuckolding clues are all over his movies. And also, he even gets confronted by Mr. Lyndon in Barry Lyndon, and he says, "I'd rather be called a cuckold than a fool." And, when he accuses Barry of doing his wife, he knows he's doing her. So it's another little clue to cuckolding. One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, Looney Tunes, Crazy as a March Hare. It's a theme. Then we have the cuckoo bird is heard on the Apollo 15 Falcon Feather drop thing. If you listen to the video carefully at the end of it, the guy that's whistling, he's doing a cuckoo bird whistle. So then we have One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, the cuckoo clock, Clockwork Orange. It goes on and on. And then he uses Galileo. He talks about Galileo when he does the Falcon Feather drop. He really should be talking about Newton and his apple. And then we have the Newton Apple. Ringo is Apple in Chinese. Apple Records is the Beatles company. We have Macintosh, IBM. We have the Apple and Adam and Eve. We have the Adams probe. We have Ken Adams. We have the snakes. We have a lot of little clues into Adam and Eve and the snake in the Garden of Eden. We have Apple Records. We have the Macintosh computer, the IBM computer, HAL. Now, the cuckoo part of it is the real genius thing. Kubrick was faking the Apollo missions for Kennedy, and then Kennedy gets whacked, so he's kind of like in between things. He doesn't know what's going to happen. The guy he's working for gets killed. So the new guy takes over, Lyndon, and I guess the message was, keep full speed ahead. We're going to fake him anyway. So he lived through the coup. So it's a cuckoo, you know what I'm saying? It's a little, I think there's a comedian, he does a thing on this, the cuckoo. He's one of the stand-up comedians. I can't think of his name now. So then you get Apollo 15. You got the head crater on Apollo 15, or halo crater. You've got, so Kubrick was the one who flew over the cuckoo's nest. He made it from the Kennedy administration to the Johnson administration to the Nixon administration. He flew right over it. Kirk Douglas stars in the first Broadway production of One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He plays McMurphy. So Kirk Douglas buys the rights to One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. He either sells them or gives them to his son Michael. And then Michael is the one that produces the actual movie with Jack Nicholson and the famous. All the people that are in that movie are alchemical, and every movie they go in is alchemical. So those are the cuckoo birds. You know, they're just like the rabbits. Wherever these cuckoo birds go, you gotta follow them. So when Scatman Crothers is in King of Marvin Gardens, and you know you're looking for kings, queens, jacks, you need to look at that movie. Kirk Douglas also stars in Kubrick's Spartacus, and he's giving you the allegory, I am Spartacus, and then all his men are, they're all standing up and they're going, I am Spartacus. Well, we're all Spartacus, and the only way we're going to defeat the Minotaur is if we stick together. And then, of course, you have Lolita. Peter Sellers says to Humbert when he walks in, and he says, are you Spartacus here to free the slaves? So this is, Peter Sellers is acting like Stanley Kubrick in that scene. He's trying to do Kubrick, and he actually does a pretty good job of it. And so he says, are you Spartacus here to, and he's wearing a toga, of course. And then he talks about Roman ping pong, we already know what Roman ping pong is. It's birthday, death day. So we are all Spartacus. Let's see, I think I already, okay. Another one is Capricorn 1, the movie. Capricorn 1 is the Tropic of Capricorn. This is the tropic you cross when you go to the South Pole that doesn't exist. Danny's astrological sign is Capricorn. He's born on 1/1. The Capricorn is a star system, one of the, it's a zodiac. Keir Dalia says it's full of stars. In the movie Capricorn 1, Elliot Gould plays something Caulfield. Well, Holden Caulfield is the name of the character in Catcher in the Rye. So we've already got a nod to Catcher in the Rye in one of the characters' names. And Peter Hyams, the guy that directs it, he's born on Kubrick's birthday, which is Jung's birthday, which is Huxley's birthday, which is Diane Arbus' death, launched the Apollo 15 date. This is a Nexus date again with the director. And also Elliot Gould goes right into MASH with the first female guest star of the first Star Trek. And it's the first MASH movie, and they're Moonshiner. So I have not looked at MASH, but I guarantee the stuff in it. Holden Caulfield is the Catcher in the Rye character, and his sister, she wants to ride the merry-go-round, and he doesn't, and he talks about the crazy cliff and catching everyone before they fall over. And so you have Catcher in the Ryegrass snake. You have sharp-bladed grass, dull-bladed grass, rye bread, rye whiskey, baseball catcher. So this is like a little tie-in, alchemical tie-in thing. It has the date of July 16th, the Apollo 11 launch, the Trinity date, the JFK Jr. date. So when we go to Capricorn 1, the main character is Caulfield. So it's a little Catcher in the Rye clue. Let's see what else is here. All right, this stuff we're not ready for. Oh, yeah, I guess we are. Let's take that part out. Let's go over the coronas. You have the Corona Borealis, the Royal Crown. This is the Minotaur myth. You have the Crown Royal Whiskey. You have Demeter throws it to the sky, forever immortal. This is the whole King Minos' daughter. You have the Corona typewriter, L.C. Smith Corona also. All work and no play make Jack a dull boy is 42 spaces long. Writers are a category. So we have J.D. Salinger, Herman Kahn, Shakespeare, Poe, Lewis Carroll, Aldous Huxley, Jung. It goes on and on. There's, like I said, every one of these categories isn't one or two people. He's got 1,000, there's 1,000 words. This is the grand clues. There's 1,000 words in a single picture. People say, oh, a picture's worth 1,000 words. Well, you have the Grand Overlook Lodge. You have the Millennium Falcon. You have George Bush and his 1,000 points of light. There's a lot of clues in here to 1,000. You have the M14 Garand rifle. You've got, the Greats, the Grands. Anyway, so this is a clue. There's going to be writers, that there's these typewriters. You're looking for writers. And then, of course, you get the L.C. Smith Corona double-barrel shotgun. And he put both barrels in his mouth, and the both barrels, one is Stan, one's Anya. Those are the two Minotaur victims. And he says he chopped his family up into little pieces and stacked them neatly in the West Wing. This is the whole wing category. You've got Wing Attack Plan R. Wings is, Paul McCartney's band, and you got to build better wings, Icarus. Anyway, and you got Corona Flushing, Queens, Shea Stadium, the Horseshoe in Corona Flushing, Queens, built on horseshit and ashes. You got the Billie Jean King Arthur Ashe Tennis Stadium in Corona Flushing, Queens. You've got Louis Armstrong Museum in Corona Flushing, Queens. You've got the Corona Theater. You've got the Corona Flushing, Queens 1964 World's Fair. Kubrick hires the guy that projects the moonscape on a dome with a fisheye lens, Douglas Trumbull. You see the Unisphere there for the first time, the NASA hardware there. It's Jack Nicholson's birthday is the first day of the fair. It's Oppenheimer's birthday. It's a Nexus date, April 22nd. And Nixon dies on April 22nd. They have Apollo's Laurel Corona, the UN map Laurel Corona, Laurel Canyon, and the Carpentier fight at Laurel Gardens, which is the first twin clue you get, the twin boxers. So there's a lot of Corona clues. Let's close this out. Here's the Aries 1B, so we got another Zodiac. Here's the Moon Bus, which is a clue to the 21 window VW Moon Bus. So 21 is one of our numbers we're always looking for. So when we find the Moon Bus, and it looks like a VW bus, and it's got the little thing on the side, and when we find out the VW bus had 21 windows. Here's the card player. He's the ace in Dr. Strangelove. He's doing card tricks. Let's close this. Sam Shepard. Dorothy Kilgallen investigated the Sam Shepard case, and she said he was innocent. The Sam Shepard case gets written into a book, essentially, and it becomes the Jeffrey Kimball, Dr. Kimball story and a movie. So when we find Kimball, Dr. Kimball in 2001: A Space Odyssey, we find Kimball Crater on the Apollo 15 landing map, and we find out later on we're looking for one-armed men and one-eyed men and one-eared men and one-legged men and all these different missing appendages. So, when we find Dr. Kimball, we're also finding a little pointer to the Sam Shepard case and Dorothy Kilgallen. So keep that in mind. And Dorothy talked to Marilyn Monroe about the crash in Roswell, New Mexico. And we find this out through a memo from NASA, and it's called Operation Moondust, which was a NASA program. And the program was actually ostensibly supposed to be in charge of recovering objects that fell to Earth from space. That was their job. But we see them actually in reality listening to Marilyn Monroe's telephone calls, where she talks about her little hidden diary of secrets and the Corona 1947 New Mexico UFO crash that she talked to Bobby about. We're looking for twins and Mr. Olympias. Here's Colleen Gray. She's in The Killing. She's cuckolding her husband in this movie. There's Linda Hamilton and her twin sister. This is pure genius right here. The quality of this is amazing. This is the VW moon bus clue here. VW made a 21-window moon bus. Okay, so Kubrick in 2001, he makes it the moon bus. So this genius here, he's perfectly melded a VW moon bus and even gave it the beetle eye in the front. That's pretty clever. So like I said before, there's genius artwork out there. This is an example. And it's got the Sikorsky helicopter cut out too. That's pretty good. Here's the Chip Foose does a VW bus on the show. And they add 2 more windows, so they make it a 23-window bus. Here's the moon bus again. You've seen this. That we don't need. That we're not ready for. Here's the Icarus and Daedalus craters. The whole, this is a whole allegory. Kubrick and his father. His father designed the labyrinth. Here's the Beatles album. This is, Paul died, so these guys are facing you and Paul isn't, so. He didn't wear shoes in the crosswalk. He didn't want to fill someone's shoes. Here's the quote from Neil Armstrong I mentioned earlier. I wanted to show you it in text about the 3-footer. He jumps off on the thing and blah, 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 blah. Oh, it's about a 3-footer. And he's not the only one that says it. I think all of them say it. I don't need this. The helmets look like parrots. Neil Armstrong says in his interview, he says, much like a parrot, parrots aren't very good flyers, but they're good at talking. So he's giving you clues that he never flew anywhere. You have the Golden Ray, Apollo's Golden Rays, and we have Launch Pad 39. Here we go. That's where we took off from. And the Calumet. Calumet is peace pipe. So he's telling us we need to make peace with whatever this is. This picture is a pure genius from Kubrick's. There's a pyramid here. I don't know if you noticed that, but there's a pyramid here. So here's another pyramid clue. He's a boxer in the movie, so we get on the boxer clue. This is horse and covered wagon times. This is his son's birthday. So he makes him this little wagon, and he pulls it with a little sheep. And this is Brian, his son. This is the son that gets crushed by the horse. So it's his son's gift horse that he gets for his birthday, and he's crushed by the gift horse. So this is Kubrick's gift. Don't look the gift horse in the mouth clue set. This guy's a dink. He did the He did the stupid gravity thing, and so, oh no, they couldn't have faked it. He knows. Anyway, the reason I have this picture here is there's 34 spires on this little model, but the one in Kubrick's movie, Kubrick breaks one of these off, so there's 33. So here's the Lonely Hearts Club album. We don't want that picture. I want the other picture. Close that out. You know, he's got a little message in his hand right here. It's not a little message. It's a very big message. This is the whole Lou Gehrig date, you know, luckiest man in the world. You know, it's the Pan Am Space Clipper. So we had the Yankee Clipper, which is Joe DiMaggio. And also, we're cutting with the Collins axe. We're cutting with Wendy's knife. We're clipping pieces of film out and stacking them neatly. Here's Queen Elizabeth's coronation. Look magazine does a big expose on Queen Elizabeth and her coronation. This is her crown. This is her royal crown. This is her coronation. So coronation corona. Okay, it's the same thing. So she's in Look magazine. She's got a royal corona. This is her coronation. And she's a redhead. And of course, we get the cards clue. She's a queen. Or you could say, in this case, more of a chess clue than a cards clue. So this happens during Kubrick's tutelage at Look. We've got Kubrick in the set. We notice the curved floor. This is another clue. Although it's curved the wrong way, you know. It should be flat, but you don't need that. The Space Clipper, you know this. Here's Paul McCartney's ex-wife. You know, I mean, we had the One-Eyed Jack. I said the One-Eyed Jacks, plural. We had the One-Armed Man, the One-Legged Man, the One-Eyed Man, the One-Eared Man, the No-Nosed Men. And here we have, you know, Paul McCartney's ex-wife, and she's only got one leg. You know, this is pure genius. Fall is a pretty bright guy. Here's Kubrick, and he talks about his cats have extrasensory perception. He's convinced of it. He does tests. He talks about every time he wants to comb their hair balls, they run out of the room. They seem to know before he even does it that he's going to do it. So this is another ESP clue. You know, we have Scatman. He has the ESP. Danny has ESP. Radar from MASH has ESP. Nicole Kidman has ESP. She knows her husband's fondling women at the office. So we're looking for people with ESP here. Here's a clever Playboy clue in the making of shots of 2001: A Space Odyssey. He has the Playboy magazine in his hand. This is a clue to the bunnies and the Playboy interviews and the, you know, Queen Anne Margaret and Marilyn Monroe, the first Playboy bunny. There's his wife again. You know, this is a very interesting shot. We got Kubrick and we got Mr. Olympia right here. Isn't that interesting? So, I wonder what's going on there. And I'm sure they were smoking cigars. And now here's Kubrick and his roommate, you know, the man who invents the satellite. You know, we have a clue to the fake satellite thing. And, you know, he names it the Discovery craft, which is Robert Falcon's ship, and it goes on and on. Here we go. This is what I wanted to get to. This is the Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band. And what you need to do is go online and do a search for Sgt. Pepper Lonely Heart, and with a descriptor of who's in this photograph here. And you're going to find that you already know a lot of these people. Like we have, here's Marilyn Monroe. There's one. We already had her. Here's Paul and Paul McCartney. We had him. We had the Beatles already. We've got Lewis Carroll is over here. We got H.G. Wells. We had him already. I didn't go into that yet, but we do. We got Dylan, who's in the movie Billy the Kid. Another alchemist. Edgar Allan Poe. Carl Jung. There's Carly Jung right there. And who else here? We've got Terry Southern. guy that's involved in Doctor Strangelove. You have Brando. You had him. You had One-Eyed Jacks. You had Brando. Oh, look, and here's Sonny Liston, a boxer. Wow, isn't that amazing? This picture is a list of a lot of the things you were looking for and didn't even know you were looking for. And the drum itself is a message done in Jabberwocky, which is Lewis Carroll's mirroring message hiding thing. So when you hold the mirror under Lonely Hearts, it says 11IX he die, which is Paul McCartney died on 11/9 in his Aston Martin, and he was replaced by Fall. So, you know, they all have, it's, the clues to this are in that video, The Winged Beetle. So once again, I'm not going to go over every little clue that's in this thing here, but you're going to find redheads, like there's a whole bunch of them. You know, we've got Shirley Temple's a redhead. This guy's a redhead. This guy's a redhead. This guy's a redhead. You know, this guy's a redhead. So you're going to have to look at these pictures, find out who these people are. And you're going to find people that you didn't have yet. You're going to find new parts of this puzzle. But you're going to find so many people in here that you already know that are already been identified by this puzzle that it's not a coincidence.